Hello guys, welcome to another video. Hope you guys are doing well. And in today's video, I kind of want to make it as practical as possible because I want to share my known information and talk about some tips and tricks that might help you to improve your blast last, particularly the anti blast last, which is the demon that I personally have and that I personally struggle with the most. And I want to start by saying that in my case, it might be for you also, my fellow twin types, that even though we have the NI activated in our sleep, do the NT might be like the scariest thing in the world. You might feel a little bit nervous, you might feel a little bit anxious. But once that you overcome that initial fear, I promise that it's going to get easier and easier the more that you practice it. And it's really not that hard as it seems. So I think that it all starts with changing your perspective on blast. Because we see, or me in my case, as a consumed sleep saver, I used to see blast as something that people who are super skilled and super masterful at what they do are just able to do. Like, there's no way from my OE perspective that you get away with giving advice if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Especially when you're aware of this huge spectrum of information out there, as consums are normally aware of that spectrum. And also, what happens is that the reason why each time that we try to communicate something and we screw up is because, yes, we do have this order inside our brain. You know, we do have this order and the sentence structure in which we want to communicate to others about our intentions. However, each time that we open our mouth, like, there's this huge insecurity, you know, and there's this huge self-sabotaging root thought that is just rooted in the core, at the very core of us. It feels very close to the core, at least from my experience, by the way. But anyways, this root thought tells you constantly that how can you give some valuable advice if you haven't gathered all the information that is out there. So when you try to blast telling yourself that narrative on the background, it becomes really hard. It becomes practically impossible to talk because you're always doubting yourself when communicating. You're always doubting yourself when laying down the plan. So the moment that you doubt yourself, you're fucked. Because self-fulfilling prophecy, what you believe, it turns into reality, especially for us FI users, you know? So we need to learn to understand that this is our perspective, yet it is not reality. The truth is that we have as many known information as the lead blasters, and we are allowed to use that. We are allowed to communicate what we know with the others. And if other people don't understand right away what we are trying to communicate, we can invite them to ask us some questions so we can try and clarify that, you know? And that's what the consume report is useful in those cases. But that consume report, you chopped it based on the questions that the tribe asks you. You don't try to give your full consume report right away to the point that you leave the other people dazed and confused because you just bombarded with so much unorganized information that only makes sense inside your head. And that's why it's super important, to narrow things down and to believe in your ability to narrow shit down. Like really believe in your ability. And as an SE user, it's a whole challenge because if you don't have SE proof that you can do that, to you it doesn't exist. So it's really hard for you to believe on that capacity when you never proven that capacity. So it's like, how can you tell me that I believe that I'm capable of communicating my known information if I've never done that? And each time that I've done that, I have this SE proof that I fail. I have this SE proof that people just tell me to fuck off, or that they just ignore me because they couldn't understand a thing of what I was saying. And like we focus our energy on all of that negativity that surrounds Blast, that we make it practically impossible for ourselves to push through that, you know, and keep on practicing and keep learning to be more confident and rooted in the information that we know. So that's one. And the second one is to start right away by communicating the main idea, and you don't have to use a whole report for doing so. You just have to use the words that are ordered inside of your mind, because you also have this tendency, well, in my case, I have this tendency, sorry about that, of doubting myself constantly each time that I am communicating something, especially when I don't know the word that I'm searching for in my brain. Sometimes I have like these huge mental gaps in which I have to communicate something, but I can't find the specific word in order to communicate it. But what you have to do is to breathe deeply, relax into that, be with that uncomfortness, and learn to articulate it in another way, which I can assure you that your brain has another way to communicate when you can't find the exact word. You know, you can use this to describe. You can describe what you're trying to communicate. It's like when you're trying to, for example, in my case, it happens a lot with emotions, that I don't know which word is associated with a specific emotion that I'm feeling in the moment. And I communicate like, I don't know, but it's like this sensation of emptiness in my chest that makes me doubt myself, for example. And other people will normally, if they're listening to you, fill in the gaps with you. And it's like, oh yes, you feel unconfident, or I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, or I feel like I just try too hard, and each time something appears in the way that doesn't allow me to get over it. And other people will tell you, oh, so you're feeling uncomfortable, discouraged. And don't be afraid to let the tribe in and to fill in those words for you. It really works. And the third and the last point I want to kind of share with you is that you really have to start write shit down. I know that is dreadful as fuck. I know that is super tiring to do brain dumps, to do to-do lists. But each time that you're able to materialize what's inside your head in paper, it becomes way more easier to find a way to organize it better. And therefore, that results in a better form of communicating. And of course, that is in synergy. For that to work, must be in synergy with points one and two, because I know that because it happens to me, that I organize a way of communicating on paper. And when I'm about to say it, I start to doubt myself. And I start to see, no, this situation is different. This is going to be very different. The way that I structure on paper is not going to work out. So I need to change it right away. Please help. And when I succumb to that process, instead of making things better, I make things worse because I fall back into my consume report. And people end up being super dazed and confused by what I'm trying to say. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I hope that you find these tips helpful. And trust me, your demons are not as scary as they may seem. Once that you get over that initial fear and that initial rejection, and you feel the stink of that, and you keep on moving on anyways, you will find a way to make it easier. It gets easier, and that fear and pain eventually fades away with time. And what a best way than to go through a little bit of fear or pain intensely in the moment, but that is going to bring you so much satisfaction and so much freedom and serendipity in the long time, which is kind of what most of us ESFPs are going after, serendipity. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you find it useful, and see you on another video. Bye bye.